and I'm reading from the New Living Translation. So 1 Peter chapter 3, beginning at verse 10. The Bible says, "For the scriptures say, if you want to enjoy life and see many happy days, keep your tongue from speaking evil and your lips from telling lies. Turn away from evil and do good. Search for peace and work to maintain it. The eyes of the Lord watch over those who do right, and his ears are open to their prayers. But the Lord turns his face against those who do evil. Now who will want to harm you if you are eager to do good? But even if you suffer for doing what is right, God will reward you for it. So don't worry or be afraid of their threats. Instead, you must worship Christ as Lord of your life. And if someone asks about your Christian hope, always be ready to explain it. But do this in a gentle and respectful way. Keep your conscience clear. Then if people speak against you, they will be ashamed when they see what a good life you live because you belong to Christ. Remember, it is better to suffer for doing good, if that is what God wants, than to suffer for doing wrong." This is talking a little bit about dealing with persecution. And persecution does come and will come. The Bible says that all who will live godly in Christ Jesus will suffer persecution. It will happen. I didn't ask my son Nathan if I could share this before the service, so I'm sorry, I don't mean to cause Nathan any embarrassment. But he came home from school a few days ago, and he had, after school, gone over to the YMCA, and he said while at the YMCA, another boy pushed him down to the ground and said, "I don't want to play with any white Christian boy." And the boy who did it was white. I can't figure that out. But he was being persecuted for his faith in Jesus Christ. It does happen. It does happen. But the Bible tells us how to respond to it. Amen? Amen. 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 Let's go to the Lord in prayer this morning. We have a lot to pray for today because there are a lot of people who are beginning to travel this week with the school break coming up. We have a lot of sickness going around the island and through the church, a lot of the flu going around, and so we're going to pray about all that. Father in heaven, we worship you today and we praise your holy name, Lord God. Father, there are so many needs that we have here today that we need to lift up to you, Lord. Lord, we're almost overwhelmed by the magnitude of the needs that are here. Father, we pray for Steve Soriano as he's going for a Botox treatment, Lord, in his bladder this coming tomorrow, Lord. Father, we pray that you would bless him and help him, Lord, and strengthen him through this procedure. Prevent him from getting pneumonia at the hospital like he did last time. And Lord, I pray that you would just touch his bladder and bring healing to his bladder so he won't need to go for these treatments anymore. Lord in heaven, we pray for Paul Sylvia, Lord, as just came through another back surgery. We pray, Lord Jesus, that you would heal his back. Take away that pain, Lord, so that he can be able to get himself back into fellowship with us here at church, and hearing the word of God and receiving your truth, Lord. Father, we pray for all those who have been dealing with the flu, who have been so sick over this past month in my own family, throughout this church family, all those who are still absent today because of the flu, we pray healing to be all over them. Father, for those who just simply need encouragement today, who need some kind of blessing, who need some kind of experience with you, just to be let know that you see them and you hear them and you love them. Lord, I pray today they will hear your voice speaking to them, and they will just receive that encouragement, that boost of faith that they need. And for those that are watching the service online, we pray a special blessing to be over them in the name of Jesus Christ our Lord. And all the saints of God said, Amen. Amen. Let's worship the Lord together today. Praise the Lord.
Good morning, church. We're here this morning to worship God, to give Him our praise. Amen. He's been a good God to us. He's the way maker. He's the miracle worker. And there is no God above our God. He's the only God. We don't serve one God. We serve the God. He's the God that creates heaven and earth. He created people as His image. So this morning, forget about the problems. Forget about what's going on in life. Some of you come here this morning very sad. You don't even want to get out of bed.
Hallelujah, Lord. Hallelujah, Lord. Praise you, Jesus. Hallelujah. What a sweet, beautiful presence of the Lord today. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah, Lord. Hallelujah. You know, so often we think about worship as our way of entering God's presence. But the Bible says, and that's true, but the Bible also says that the Lord inhabits the praises of his people. So worship is not only the way in which we enter God's presence, it's the way God comes into our presence in a beautiful way. What an incredible thought. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. Hallelujah, Lord. Let's give the Lord one big praise this morning, church. Hallelujah. Praise you, Jesus. Hallelujah. Gloria a Deus. Glory to God. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. God bless you, church. You may be seated. Praise the Lord. Okay. All right. We'll do that. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Joan. I'm the one that's moving. I have a rotor cuff injury back in November. And along with the symptoms and the problems from that, my jaw did not allow me to sing. And for me, that was torture. And so today, God touched my jaws, and I was able to sing perfectly. And I'm trusting him to finish the work with my shoulders.
Amen. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Hallelujah. 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 Any other testimonies today? Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Go ahead, Brian.
It's pretty much a miracle that I can be here with you today. I asked God, you have to be careful, I asked God to allow me, if it were possible, to help bear some of the pain that our Lord took on me. And I'm not sure, a number of scriptures came to me. And I didn't think it through all the way because I thought, the pain would just come and I would deal with it. I was feeling strong. I was like, God, you made me able. 17 different people attacked me. 2 with a baseball bat. I was 10 days in intensive care. And they wanted me to stay for 6 weeks so they could screw my head together with metal plates. And I was like, no, my head's mostly in the right place, right? They said, yeah, it's kind of like a jigsaw puzzle, but it's kind of in the right place. So I was like, okay, I'm okay. And I remember Eva Campbell, a prophetess in Worcester, when I was trying to that church, and she got up and she said, the Bible says that we have to pick up our cross daily. But she said, you can't crucify yourself. Other people have got to drive the nails in. And when our hearts are humble, we can forgive and we can love the people that hurt us. And forgiveness sets us free and them free. So thank God that I can be here with you. It's lovely to see you all. God bless.
Thank you very much. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Thank you very much, worship team, for that beautiful, beautiful worship today. That was wonderful. Wonderful. Hallelujah. 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 Steve, you got your hand up.
Yes, I'd like to praise the Lord that I got here.
Yes. Yes.
In the words of my people, God did it.
PTA discontinued the special bus that would take Steve to church and back. And so it was like, how does he get here? He needs a vehicle with a lift to work with his wheelchair. And he put it out over Islanders Talk or Facebook, and some people stepped up and said, we'll help you out. And so God provides. Praise the Lord. Amen. We want to welcome everyone who's here for the very first time. If this is your very first time here in Vineyard Assembly of God, would you just hold up your hand? Because we have a special gift that we want to give you today. God bless you. God bless you so much. It's so good to have you with us today. If you just keep your hand up so that our ushers can see where you are, so that we can get you that special gift. Praise the Lord. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So glad to have you with us today. God bless you. Inside that gift, you'll find a lot of other gifts, and including there's a connection card. And if you wanted to fill that out, give it to one of the ushers or drop it in the offering, that would be wonderful. And then we can stay in contact with you. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Let's have our ushers come forward to receive our morning tithes and offerings. As our ushers come, we have a special guest with us today, and that's Pastor Ron, and he's going to come and share a greeting to the church. So let's welcome Pastor Ron. Father in heaven, we thank you for these tithes and these offerings that your people are about to give back to you for the work of your kingdom here on this earth. Lord, you understand that there are needs in this physical world, and you have ordained tithes and offerings as the means for meeting those needs. So, Lord, I pray that as your people respond in faith to you, to your word, I know, Lord, that you are going to respond to them and bless them in Jesus' name. Amen. 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 Pastor Bob.
Thank you, Pastor. Good morning, church.
Good morning.
This is my first time here, and I must let you know that I feel at home. The Bible says the church is one foundation, and that is Jesus Christ the Lord. So it doesn't matter which church you attend, it's one, and that's Jesus Christ our Lord. I must say thanks to your pastor for giving me the privilege to bring you greetings. On behalf of my wife, Carol, who is there, and my son, Giovanni, we are so happy to be here with you today to worship with you. I've heard many worship songs sung earlier, and that's what we are here to do today, to worship God, because we live to worship him. So my brothers and sisters, I just ask that you will worship him today in spirit and in truth, and open your hearts and your minds to receive what is yet to come. God bless you and have a blessed day.
Praise the Lord. Thank you very much, Pastor. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's have the children come forward to be dismissed for Children's Church. Dear Jesus, Lord, I pray for these children today that as they go to their classes, may they just sense your love for them through their teachers. Father, I pray that you bless the teachers downstairs. Help them as they teach these wonderful children about you, about your word. And I pray a blessing upon their parents in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Have a great time downstairs. Have a good class, okay? Praise the Lord. Glory to God. Amen. 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 We're continuing the series that I have been preaching, entitled Walking with God Through the Winter, looking at the scriptures in the Bible that talk about the winter time, and not specifically walking with God when it's winter outside, but how to walk with God when it is winter on the inside, when we're walking through a winter of the soul, a difficult time, a dark time, a stormy time of life within our spirits, within our souls, as we walk with God. Today, we're going to look at just one verse of Scripture, just one. And it's Proverbs chapter 20, verse 4. So we're going to put it up on the screens, but if you have your Bibles or your tablets or whatever you like to use, if you'd like to read on with me, I'm going to be speaking from the New International Version, Proverbs 20, verse 4. The Bible says, sluggards do not plow in season, so at harvest time they look, but find nothing. Let's pray. Father in heaven, I thank you, Lord, for your word. And Lord, I know that right now your Holy Spirit is going to just fill this place. Fill me and fill your people and fill those watching online to receive from you the word that you want to convey to them, the message that you want to convey to them. So Lord, I ask for your help as I preach your word. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen. The title of the message today is Lazy Winter, Hungry Summer. Lazy winter, hungry summer. And I know that title may not make a lot of sense, because here on the island, with our seasonal economy, we live in a different way. We live more like, lazy summer, hungry winter. Where, if you're not taking advantage of all the summer work and all the tourists and all the jobs that come, during the summer, you're going to have a hungry winter. But I'm not talking about the economy in our country or here on the island. I'm talking about the seasons of your soul, the issues of the heart. And there will be times in your journey with Jesus where you will pray hard. You will have to pray hard. You will believe much. And when you have to keep going, when you just feel like quitting, where the only option for you, the only option that you have is either absolute victory or absolute defeat. There will come times like that in the winter of your soul. I'm thinking about a winter many years ago here in America. It was December 1776. The weather was terrible. The American Army was fairly newly formed. The 13 colonies had just a few months before declared their independence from Great Britain. And the American Army had been reduced in that time from 16,000 men to just under 5,000 men. And the Army was seriously undersupplied. There were men with no shoes in the winter. They didn't have ammunition. They had hardly any food. They were running out of supplies. And it was during this time that General George Washington decided to attack the garrison of German mercenaries that had been hired by the British and brought over to fight here. They were occupying the city of Trenton, New Jersey. And George Washington was on the other side of the Delaware River over in Pennsylvania. And he decided that I'm going to attack on the day after Christmas, because he thought, well, you know, these German mercenaries, they're German. Christmas is big in Germany. They're going to be eating, they're going to be drinking, they're going to be celebrating all day Christmas. And so Christmas morning, they're going to need to be still sleeping it all off. So that night of December 25th, it was raining, and then it grew colder, and the rain changed to sleet, and then to snow. It became so cold and damp that some of the men in George Washington's army actually died of hypothermia. They froze to death. But they crossed the Delaware River, they marched to Trenton, New Jersey, and they surprised and defeated the German mercenaries that were there. Now, all that to say this. George Washington's code word for the attack was victory or death. Because he knew that the situation was so dire that he had to win or it was all done. There was no other option. It was either victory or death. If he had lost, then the revolution would have been lost, and we probably would have become just like Canada is today. We would not have become an independent nation. But because they won, history was changed. You see, all of the tests of faith that we will face are ultimately either victory or death, or we'll make it a little nicer. They're either pass or fail. Did you ever have to take a test that was pass or fail? I remember growing up in school, I had a teacher who said, okay, this test is going to be you either pass it or you fail it. And I didn't think it was fair. Because I was, in public school, it was, if you got a 66, you passed. You could pass with a 66. You didn't have to work that hard. But this teacher made it either a pass or fail exam. My father was a drill sergeant in the Army, and he told me that the soldiers he trained were graded on a pass or fail system for each module of the training. And it may not have seemed fair, but when you think that that soldier's life and the lives of all the other soldiers around him depended on that soldier learning how to operate either a $300 rifle or a $30 million missile, they had better pass. I mean, there are some things in life where we realize that you've either got to pass or fail. You wouldn't want anybody out there driving on the road who has failed their driving test, would you? You want them to pass. You want everybody driving to pass their road test. Brothers and sisters, depending on where you are right now in your walk with Jesus, your journey with Jesus, this message may be a message of comfort. It may be a message of challenge. Or it may be a message of conviction. But I pray today that you receive this message in the way that you need to, and that our enemy, Satan, doesn't steal this word away from your heart. The word is lazy winter, hungry summer. Let's look at Proverbs 20, verse 4. We're going to split it in half. We're going to look at the first half where it says, sluggards do not plow in season. I began to think about that. Sluggards do not plow in season. In the original Hebrew, the phrase in season is the word mechoref, and it means winter. So in the English translation, we kind of lost what it actually means in the Hebrew. It literally means sluggards or lazy people do not plow in the winter. That's what it means in the original Hebrew. And I began to think about this idea of going out and plowing your field in the winter. And it brought this thought to mind and into my heart, and it's this: don't let the test of difficulty prevent you from taking the steps toward victory. Let me share that again. Don't let the test of difficulty prevent you from taking the step or steps toward victory. Think about that. Plowing in the winter. Now, in our area of the world, we think, plowing the soil in the winter. Where I was from in upstate New York, a lot of times the ground was frozen solid 3 feet down. I mean, it froze. It got cold up there. You can't plow that. But remember, this was written in the Middle East. In the Middle East, the ground doesn't freeze. During the winter, the weather becomes windy and rainy and stormy and sometimes snowy. It becomes a difficult and unpleasant time to be outside, but it's not impossible to plow in the Middle East. Look at what Jesus said, Mark 13:18. He said, pray that this will not take place in winter. Why? Because you're going to deal with bad weather. It's going to be a little bit more difficult. There's going to be mud everywhere. 2 Timothy 4:21, Paul told Timothy, do your best to get here before winter. Because he knew it was going to be stormy. It's hard to travel in the winter at that time. So thinking about that, we realize that it's much less exciting to be working outside in damp, cool, rainy weather than it is when the weather's nice, right? How many of you like to go out and mow your lawn in the summer when it's raining? Nobody? Oh my goodness. How many of you like to go out and work in your garden when it's raining and stormy? Nobody? We prefer the nice weather. It's easier to work out on a day like today when it's sunny and maybe there's a nice gentle breeze, not when there's a bitter wind blowing off the ocean and bringing mist and rain and dampness and sleet. It's hard to work when the weather, the climate is adverse. I remember when I was a boy, talk about difficulties. When I was a boy, my parents bought their home. There were my parents, myself, and 2 younger brothers and 2 younger sisters. And by the way, I'm so proud of one of my younger brothers. I found out that last week, while I was preaching here, at the very same time, he was preaching, filling in for the pastor at his church back in New York. Isn't that fun? But I remember when I was a boy and my parents bought their home, it was a big old farmhouse. No insulation. The only insulation in the house literally was up in the attic. There was a little sawdust poured, in between the joists. Sawdust. My parents had a wood-burning furnace down in the basement. They used to burn 10 or 11 cords of firewood a year in that thing to keep that house semi-habitable. That first year that my parents lived in the house, they had just bought the house, they had to put the furnace in. Money was very, very tight. I remember that first year, during that first winter we were in the house, every Saturday, my father, my uncle, my brother and I had to go out into the woods and cut enough firewood to last us through the week. It was miserable. I hated it. As my father and my uncle cut the trees down and cut them up, my brother and I, we had sleds with ropes, and we would pile the wood onto the sleds, and then we'd have to pull the sleds with the wood out of the woods, and then my brother and I would have to load up my uncle's pickup truck. And when we had a full load, we'd take it to my parents' house, unload it, then we'd go back and sometimes do it again until my father felt that we had enough wood to last us through the week. It was a wet, miserable way to spend a Saturday in January. And to this day, I hate having my hands and my feet cold because of that. I don't mind the cold, anywhere else on my body, but my hands and my feet, forget it. I want those to be warm. It wasn't fun, but it had to be done. It was difficult. And the message of Proverbs 20, verse 4 is that lazy people will not work when it is unpleasant or uncomfortable for them to do so. They will only work when things are pleasant and comfortable. That's the message. Now, let me tell you the problem when we face difficulty. The problem with difficulty is that it's difficult. Right? I mean, that's the problem with difficulty. It's difficult. It isn't fast. It isn't easy. It isn't pleasant. It isn't take the burrito out of the freezer, put it in the microwave, and hit 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and then you have lunch. It's hard work. Difficulty is painful. Difficulty is fearful. You say, what do you mean by difficulty is fearful? Well, when we're in difficulty, as Christians, we often fear to step out further in faith in God because we're afraid of making the difficulty more difficult. Think about that. Have you ever felt that way? When you're in a difficult time in your walk with God, in your life, are you afraid to step out in faith because you're afraid, you know what, if I stick my hand out, it's going to get slapped. If I step out even more, I'm going to get hurt even more. That's where the fearfulness and difficulty comes in. And this is why we as Christians so often fail the test of difficulty. It's because we expect God to make everything pleasant and easy. We expect God to make everything pleasant and easy, don't we? Timothy Keller wrote in his book, Walking with God Through Pain and Suffering, most people see God as a being whose job it is to meet their needs. The implicit but strong cultural assumption is that God owes all, but the most villainous people a comfortable life. But what did Jesus say? You see, that's what we believe so often in our hearts, but our beliefs don't line up with what the Bible says. What did Jesus say in the Bible? Jesus said in John 16, verse 33, he said, I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble. But take heart, I have overcome the world. Jesus guarantees us two things in that passage of Scripture. He guarantees us difficulty. Guarantees us difficulty. He says, in this world you will have trouble. It will happen. God isn't going to put you into this fairyland, full of pillows and puffy things so that you never get yourself hurt. These things are going to happen in this world. Difficulty. In this world you will have trouble. The Greek word for trouble is thlipsin. It's a funny word to say. But in the original Greek, it literally means the internal pressure and the friction in your soul that is caused by persecution, affliction, distress, and tribulation. So in other words, Jesus isn't talking about outside circumstances when he says, in this world you will have trouble. He's talking about inside us, how we're responding to the trouble, He says you are going to feel this pressure. You're going to feel this friction rubbing against you the wrong way. You're going to feel this distress and affliction and pain. Jesus is talking about the feeling of being trapped by problems and you can't see a way to escape them. Dare I ask, how many of you have ever felt that way in life, where the problems have come and you feel so trapped by them, you're like, I don't know how to get out of this. I don't know how to fix this. I felt that way.
Yes.
You know, I'm a guy, sometimes I'm like, you know, problem, gotta fix it. You know, it's like this genetic compulsion, you know, there's a problem, gotta fix it. But then there have been problems in our lives where I can't fix, I can't solve. I don't know how to fix it. I don't have the resources to fix it. Jesus says you'll have that kind of difficulty, that kind of trouble. But he also guarantees us victory.
Amen. Yes.
Guarantees us victory. Victory is a way through difficulty, not a way out of difficulty. Victory is never the escape hatch. Victory is never the ejector seat. Victory is never the quit button. Victory is always the way through the trouble, through the victory. Jesus said, in me you may have peace.
Hallelujah.
Take heart, I have overcome the world. The Bible says in Romans 8:35 through 37, who shall separate us from the love of Christ? Shall trouble or hardship or persecution or famine or nakedness or danger or sword? As it is written, for your sake we face death all day long. We are considered as sheep to be slaughtered. No, in all these things we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. We're more than conquerors. That means we're beyond victory.
Yes.
See, if you're more than a conqueror, it means that not only have you won the battle, but you have taken that territory, and that territory is now your territory. It's talking about growth. It's talking about expansion in your walk with Christ. So all this to say, don't let the pain of difficulty or the fear of difficulty in your life prevent you from taking the steps you need to take toward victory. Whatever that may be, however that works out for you in your walk with God, in your life, and for everybody it's different. For one person it might be one thing, for one person it might be another. But don't let the pain of difficulty or the fear of difficulty prevent you from taking those steps of faith that you need to take toward victory. And I'm not just talking about, I'll just pray some more. Sometimes, in fact, the Bible says faith without works is dead, being alone. We're talking about practical steps of faith. Sometimes we've got to rearrange some of our habits of life. Some of our thinking needs to change. How many of you have ever seen the animated film Chicken Run? Miles has. Anybody with young kids has. Some of you have it, some good. It's a fun movie. You should watch it today. Go home and look it up on Netflix or something. That's your assignment. Go watch Chicken Run. In the movie Chicken Run, it's about chickens on a chicken farm, and they're trying to escape. And the escape becomes incentivized when they learn that the owner of the chicken farm has decided that eggs don't make them enough money. They want to turn all the chickens into pies and sell them as chicken pies. So they get this big machine and everything like that to make the chickens into pies. So the chickens are like, we gotta get out, we gotta get out, we gotta get out. And the chickens are chickens. They're not that intelligent. Except for one chicken. And this one chicken is always telling the other chickens, you gotta get out, we gotta find a way. You know, and the other chickens are like, oh, it's not so bad here. You know, we get food, you know. And this one chicken who's smart says to the other chickens, you know, the fences are not out here. The fences are in here. And very often that's the case with us as Christians. It's not the circumstances. It's in here. And in here are where the fences are. Don't let the pain of difficulty or the fear of difficulty prevent you from taking those steps toward victory. Let's look at the second half of Proverbs 20, verse 4. It says, so at harvest time they look but find nothing. Think about that. The sluggards don't plow in the winter. The lazy person doesn't plow because of the winter weather. And so then at harvest, they go out into their field and they're looking, but there's nothing. Think about that. A deception has taken place. This person in this proverb is deceived because they've come to believe that I don't have to do the work, but I'm still going to get the blessing. That's a deception. So I want to share this thought with you. Don't believe the lie that there is blessing without testing.
Right.
Don't believe that lie. Don't believe the lie that there is blessing without testing. See, this person, they're out there, they didn't plow the soil when they should have, but then they're out there looking for the food. It's funny how we are. We don't plow at the right time, but we go looking for the blessing at the right time. He's out there at the harvest looking for the food, but there's nothing there. This is like someone expecting a paycheck from their employer when they haven't shown up to work. It's like someone wanting the perks and power of a position without the proper credentials for that position. Reminds me of the story of a lady named Mary Lee Jones. Mary Lee was hired by the Massachusetts Institute of Technology in 1979. And eventually she worked her way up to be Dean of Admissions of that very prestigious institution. In 2001, and again in 2006, Mary Lee was the recipient of 2 very prestigious awards from MIT, from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. She became the co-author of a highly successful book on college admissions. And she was featured on CBS, on National Public Radio, and in various national newspapers like the New York Times and other great papers. But in 2007, Mary Lee was forced to resign from her position as Dean of Admissions at MIT because somebody at MIT did some research and found out that she had fabricated her academic credentials. Totally lied about everything. Back in 1979, when she had applied for the job, she said on her application, on her resume, that she had degrees from Albany Medical College, from Union College, from Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, and she had never earned those degrees. For 28 years, she lived a lie and rose to this very high position, but she didn't have the qualifications for that position. And as a result, she lost everything. Lost everything. You see, a deception is taking place in the Christian church. And the deception is that Christians are being taught to believe that you can have blessing without testing. It's a deception. It's a lie. I read an online article. This is an example. An online article by Joseph Prince. He quotes Deuteronomy 28, verse 8. He says, the Lord will command the blessing on you in your storehouses and in all which you set your hand, and he will bless you in the land which the Lord your God is giving you. And then he writes about that scripture. He says, this means that whatever you touch, whatever you set your hands to, God will command a blessing on it, be it a person or a thing or a business. So if you touch your child, he is blessed. If you touch your guitar, anointed music flows forth. If you touch your business, it prospers. When you touch a sick person, he gets healed. When you touch someone who is facing lack, his needs are met. That's what Joseph Prince wrote. But there are two problems with that. The first problem is that it ignores the fact that when the Bible says, whatever you set your hand to, that was an expression that meant whatever you work at. It doesn't mean that, ooh, now the pulpit's blessed. Now the piano's blessed. Now I'm blessed. That's not what it means. It means whatever you work at, God is going to bless. And then the second problem is that he quotes Deuteronomy 28, verse 8, but he ignores the context of verse 1 and verse 9, which frame it. Verse 1 says, if you fully obey the Lord your God and carefully follow all his commands. And then verse 9 says, if you keep the commands of the Lord your God and walk in obedience to him. So God is saying there, when you look at that in the context, you're going to get that blessing, the Deuteronomy 28 verse 8 blessing, if you pass the test of obedience. It's not automatic. It's not automatic. There is a test that we have to pass. And I want you to understand, church, understand that there is never any blessing without there first being a testing. So, Pastor, are you saying that I have to earn my blessings? No, I'm not saying you have to earn your blessings. What I'm saying is there is no healing without there first being a sickness. The sickness is the test. The healing is the blessing. There is no victory without a battle. I mean, anybody who walks around, I'm in the victory, I'm in the victory, I'm in the victory, but they're never fighting a battle, you know what? You're not in victory then. You're in lunacy. You're not in victory. There's no iron without fire. They don't go dig iron out of the ground and make a car. They dig rock out of the ground, and they take that rock and they put it into a furnace and subject it to temperatures of over 2,500 degrees, and that melts the metal out of that rock, and that's where you get the iron from. It's got to go through the fire. And church, never forget, there are no diamonds without pressure. In 2018, we plant something here in the United States called winter wheat. Winter wheat. It's very popular out in the Great Plains where it gets very cold during the winter. Hot in the summer, cold in the winter. But in 2018, the United States produced 1.9 million bushels of wheat, of which 50%, half of it, was exported to other countries. We're feeding a lot of countries around the world. About 60% of our entire wheat production here in America is that variety called winter wheat, which is planted in the fall, grows a little bit, and then goes dormant over the winter, and then gets harvested in the summer. So it actually is growing a little bit during the winter. And the important thing about winter wheat is that in order to produce a harvest, that wheat must go through the winter. It has to go through that cold, dormant stage, or it's not going to produce a harvest. It'll grow and look pretty like grass in your yard, but it'll never produce the seed that we need for our bread. Other seeds, like hazelnuts, won't grow unless they've gone through a freezing cycle. You get those hazelnuts from the supermarket. You can't just go out and plant them in the spring and hope you're going to grow hazelnuts. They have to be planted in the fall and be frozen in the ground, and then they'll grow. Other seeds, like the seeds of the lodgepole pine, won't grow unless they've gone through a forest fire. Otherwise, that seed won't grow. The cones won't open. I believe God put those things in nature in order to tell us the lesson that to produce the harvest, to reach your optimum potential, what God designed you to reach, you're going to have to go through some difficulty. But get the victory. Hebrews 10:36 says, you need to persevere so that when you have done the will of God, you will receive what he has promised. James 1:12 says, blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him. Look at those two verses of Scripture. You need to persevere. Blessed is the one who perseveres. Perseverance is the key quality to every test. Every test. In other words, we must answer for ourselves. You must answer for yourself the question, time and time again, will I persevere in my faith in God or not? When the test comes. In the original Greek, the word for perseverance is the word hupomone, and it means to remain under, to stay under. So it's telling us there that perseverance is not willpower. Perseverance is not where you just grit your teeth and hang on, oh, I'm strong enough, I can take it. That's not perseverance. Perseverance is not endurance. It's not like those guys. Sometimes I remember riding around with my grandfather when I was a little kid. There'd be somebody, who was like 75 years old, and they're really super thin, and the person's jogging along, and they're like this. With this look of just agony on their face. And my grandfather used to always say, look at that guy killing himself. That person's thinking, oh, I've got endurance. I can do it. That's not what perseverance is. Perseverance is not stamina. Perseverance is a choice. Perseverance is a choice. You choose to hupomone. You choose to remain under the testing and not try to refuse it, not try to escape it, not try to run from it until God chooses to bless you out of it. That's the key. That's what perseverance is. You see, in trying to find blessing without testing, what have we done in the American church, in the Western church? We've cut the grit out of the gospel. We've taken the tension out of the truth. We've taken the true power out of Pentecost. And we've forgotten that the cross that Jesus was crucified on was a rough and bloody cross. Yet this is the cross that we're called to carry in the path we're commanded to follow, because Jesus said in Luke 9:23-24, then he said to them all, whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross daily and follow me. For whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me will save it. In other words, we are called to live and preach the gospel that has the grit to stick its hands into the sewer of the human heart and bring transformation to a person's life. We need to live and preach the truth that has the tension to slice through the callus of lies and bring deliverance. We need to live and preach that the only way that brings life through the presence and power of the Holy Spirit. That's what we have to do. This is what we're called to do, church. We're not called to preach a gospel that just tells people, God is just in heaven and he's just handing out blessings. He doesn't care about how you're living. He doesn't care about what you're thinking. He's just there like a senile grandfather handing out blessings to everybody. We need to preach that we serve the living God. The one who is all-knowing, all-present, all-powerful. The one who is holy, holy, holy. The one who is love on such a level of love that we can't even grasp and comprehend it. The God who is able to understand and control everything, past, present, and future. We serve an awesome God, and He's given us an awesome message to preach and an awesome life to live. It's time to live it, church. See, lazy winters will always produce hungry summers. So when you're in that difficulty, don't be afraid to take the steps toward victory. And remember, when you're in testing, hang on, persevere, keep going, don't quit, don't give up. Because if you're in testing, there's going to be a blessing. Amen. Would you stand together with me, church? Jesus, Jesus, we praise you, Jesus. We thank you, Jesus. Hallelujah, Lord. Hallelujah, Jesus. We praise you, Jesus. Hallelujah. Worship team, could you come back, please? Hallelujah, Lord. Hallelujah. We honor you today, Lord. We bless you and we praise you, Jesus. Hallelujah, Lord. Hallelujah. Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. Hallelujah, Lord. Hallelujah. 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 How many of you are interested in this Jesus? He's going to change your life. You just got to trust him and go for it. Go for it. Go for him. Believe in him 100%. If there's anyone here where you've maybe never made a commitment, a decision for Jesus, and you'd like to make a decision for Jesus, after the service, if you'll come up and just fill in on this front row here, we'll have some people who will pray with you and talk with you, and I want to do it that way because I don't want to give people the wrong idea that, you need Jesus, you just come up and say a 2-minute prayer after me and then everything's all fine. You got your ticket stamped, out you go. But there's some teaching that needs to come in too. We want to help you. We want to really pray with you and for you. How many of you have been going through some difficulty in your life? You're facing some tests right now. Yes. It's there. It's there. I saw a lot of heads nodding. Yes. Remember, God has got blessing for you. Blessing for you. Praise the Lord. Just persevere. Hang on. Don't give up. Let's worship the Lord and then we'll close in prayer. Hallelujah. 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 Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. I'm going to ask Junior